Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's been a slow news week, so I've had some good conversations this week about comic books. And a couple of days ago, Gerry Conway, who at the tender age of, I believe, 19 or 20, was at Marvel Comics killing Gwen Stacy in Amazing Spider-Man. He's been in the comic book industry for a very long time. He's a much older man now. And I guess he went on to like a YouTube show, John Wordballoon. I'm not sure exactly who that is. But they were kind of talking about what would you do if you ran the comic book world. And he went into this exceptionally long Twitter thread and was basically laying all out what he sees as all the failings of the industry, how they kind of got into the state that they're in, and what he would do to fix it. And I thought, this is something I wouldn't mind talking about. And today I've got Doc with me. You are, of course, the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado. You have a wealth of knowledge about comic book history, and I know you got opinions about this stuff.
Yeah, I do. This is an interesting topic, and it's one that's kind of near and dear to me. How do you fix the problems in comics?
And it's something we've kind of been talking about since essentially day one on the channel. This is something that's been a recurring theme, so I'm glad we get to talk about today. But I do want to say this to the viewers: if this is your first time visiting, or you've been coming around but haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This is the kind of great content, the kind of great conversations that you'll be missing out on if you aren't subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Give us a thumbs up if you want more content like this. Give us a thumbs down if you don't. Either way, we definitely want your feedback in the comments section. Doc and I will definitely be perusing those and commenting back and forth on those, because I imagine we're going to get some great ideas and maybe some crazy ideas on how to save the industry. So as far as Gerry Conway goes in this, I agree with him and I don't agree with him. I think there's some things that he IDs very well. He's got some good suggestions here and there, but I don't think he's completely on the mark. I think that's kind of the way I took it. You felt about this as well, correct?
Yes. I mean, to start with, he's sitting there. He starts by stating that, it's obvious that the comic industry is in serious trouble. You know what, dude? You blocked me 2.5 years ago when I was saying this, and you were telling everybody that, oh no, comics is perfect and amazing and has never been better. It's only within the last 6 months since the pandemic that the comic industry pros have acknowledged the things that a lot of us readers, especially the Gen X readers, have been aware of and pointing out for a very long time. We're 3 years into pointing this out, and we were called every name in the book for pointing it out for a long time. And you know what? But he does in this, he does identify quite a few accurate things, but his timeline's very wrong on other things, and his solutions, I'll be straight, a couple of them make sense, but for the vast majority, they are so counterintuitive. It's like pointing out that something is wet, something is cold, something is clear, and then coming to the conclusion that instead of it being water, it is sand.
Mm-hmm. So let's kind of get into what he's saying here. He says to state the obvious, the comic publishing industry is in serious trouble, and he says it's because they have been pursuing the wrong market, Doc, and they've been doing so with increasing desperation since the late 1970s. Now, I pinpoint this a little bit different time frame. We talked about this beforehand. I say it was like in the 90s. That's when they decided that they were no longer in the business of storytelling, and they were in the business of creating like collectibles and becoming high-priced collectibles so you got to have lots of variant covers and things like that. And they've been going to that well more and more frequently as they've shrunk the reader base down, as they stopped creating comics for newbies.
I don't disagree with that timeline at all. I'd say that it was there was from about 1990 until maybe like 1996 or so. There was a kind of a transition period where they were still really interested in telling stories, but they were also getting into the Franklin Mint model of stuff. This is kind of the same way that baseball cards and collectible cards did.
Absolutely.
With, initially it was just, hey, let's add a hologram card in here for fun. Until those hologram cards became chase cards, and then it became about chasing the collectible market, and it stopped being something fun.
Yeah, and along the way, one of the big problems is the cover prices started going up, and that's not just with comic books. Like you said, it's also with card collectibles. You remember when you were a kid, and I was a kid, when you go through the supermarket, you go and there would be candy bars, maybe there's a little thing with some soda pops, and then you got your baseball cards. Then you had some comic books.
Yeah.
And you said, Mom, I want one. And she's like, you can't have candy today. Do you want some cards? And be like, yes, I do want these baseball cards. Or yes, I do want this Spider-Man. And that's how kids kind of got into these hobbies. And the thing is that it was at such a low price. I believe baseball cards were about 50 cents at the time. I think comic books were right about 50 cents as well. So it was like an impulse purchase. You didn't have to think about it. Yes, you could have that incredibly affordable item right there that that you can go have and spend 30 minutes on and have fun with.
Yeah.
But because they decided these were collectibles, they got to put holographic covers on them. They got to basically manufacture rarity and do all kinds of things. And the cover prices started going up and up and up. And then no longer could you house baseball cards or comic books in those aisles where you can make your impulse purchases because they were too expensive.
Yeah, exactly. You stop putting them next to the checkout at the Woolworth because they started being $2 and $3. You can't have it on a spinner rack. You're not asking somebody to spend $3 at the checkout counter. You're asking them to spend $1.50. $2 is kind of the limit for that.
According to Comic-Con, he said as soon as comic books and baseball cards became more than 2 times more than the price of a candy bar, which for a very long time were 50 cents. I believe they're 75 cents or maybe even $1 now, is when you could no longer house them in those aisles.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, and it doesn't, you're not able to convert non-readers into readers when there's an actual investment. There's a dollar investment. So you get them out of the impulse buy aisle, you get them away from the checkout counter, and now it's an item. Now it's a product that you have to market instead of impulse buy it, where somebody tries it, decides they like it, and comes back and keeps getting more.
And this is what Conway had to say about that one. For a variety of self-enforcing reasons, I think we talked about a few of them right there. Publishers have defined the primary audience for mainstream comics as, in effect, long-term fans and potential collectors. Hence, fan-oriented, navel-gazing continuity, triannual events, reboots, collector-oriented variant covers, etc. I.e., a bunch of gimmicks to make people think these are rare and collectible.
He's not wrong on that. He's wrong on the timeline for that, because that didn't start until the mid 90s and really go out in the left field until the mid 2000s. You had, because this ignores all the massive amount of audience growth between basically 1978, 1975 and 1995. You added probably 1 million readers in during that period. So all the time where he's talking about how this is so bad, you added 1 million non-readers.
Yeah, but we've already established that. We don't think he's wrong with the 70s. It's actually the 90s.
Yes, he really is. And he's right on where it is. The navel gazing continuity, that's a problem. The continuity is fine to some degree, but you don't need to go overboard with it. Triannual events are just, that's it. Reboots didn't happen until really Onslaught. I mean, okay, maybe, Crisis on Infinite Earths, but Heroes Reborn, Heroes Return, and that kind of set the stage for it.
Now reboots are something you expect all the time. Black Cat just got rebooted from number 9 to number 1 just because there is a King in Black event. It has the same creative team.
Yes.
How lazy are Marvel Comics?
They just, honest to God, if they could sell every single issue with a number 1 slapped on the cover, they would.
Oh yeah, they've tried to do that. Remember when they do these events, a lot of times, but they would have like 4 concurrent comics, but they would change the color on them, and they would be number 1, blue number 1, red number 1, yellow number 1, and black number 1.
Oh God, the X-Men Black, the mini series that wasn't. They've done that so many times, but he
giant
is
size X-Men.
Yeah,
got to have a Jean Grey and Emma Frost. Got to have Magneto. Got to have Nightcrawler. Got to have Storm. They're all number 1s.
Yeah, and so he's not wrong on this. This is actively discouraging new readers from jumping on, and so he isn't wrong. Like, but you could look at the way that even during when he says the continuity heavy era, there's a way to do continuity and there's a way to not do it, and the way they're currently doing it is not the way that they did it in the 80s is.
Conversation on the channel with Perch, we're like, why even do it if you're gonna suck at it so bad?
Yes, exactly. I mean, especially when they get it wrong. Yeah, especially when they get so much of it wrong.
Yeah, and you have characters in 3 different places at once. Nothing ever makes sense. And he says right here, new readers aren't welcomed by the existing creative strategy at the 2 main publishers. If anything, new readers are actively discouraged by the publishers' frantic pursuit of motivated existing readership. The clubhouse is closed. And I agree with him. As someone who is a relatively new reader, the first time I went into a comic book shop, it was in San Antonio. I believe it was Heroes and Fantasies. I went into the comic aisle, and I can't remember exactly what I was interested in, but I was going in there and I was looking at Batman. I was overwhelmed by the amount of new Batman comics. I was like, which one am I supposed to be reading?
Yes. There's no clear line for that. And and that is a problem.
It took me 4 trips before I ever bought a comic book.
If it would have taken me 4 trips to buy a comic book, there wouldn't have been the second, third, or fourth trip. I get that.
They had cool shirts in the store, to be honest.
Okay, well,
but I always go back there and I look, I'm like, nope, not today's not the day. I don't know where I'm supposed to even go.
But he's partially right on this and partially wrong. They have. He claims that this is what they're doing, yet at the same time, the existing editorial actively shits on existing readers and refuses them. Not only gleefully pisses them off. So if that's how he thinks that's
they're courting a new audience with all their old strategies aimed at their current audience. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. They're both doing it. They are doing some things that I think are smart now. We're going to talk about here in a second, but you're absolutely right. They could drop you, they could drop me, they could drop Larry, they could drop all of us. They would do it in a heartbeat if they could have a cooler, younger, more trendy audience.
Oh, absolutely.
But they don't know how to market or write for that audience.
Absolutely. You're 100% spot on that. And they would literally set themselves on fire doing it wrong rather than listen to somebody tell them how to do it right too. No, they do. It's like this weird buffet style marketing where they just grab a thing from here and there and they try to smash it together, and you end up with a like pickle bologna fried chicken on 2 donut sandwiches, something with horseradish covering it. You're like, wait, how do you come up with this solution? It's terrible.
And here he says, we boomers effed it up as usual. And now he goes into some anecdotes about when he was a younger man, things like that. And this is what he said that he would do. If he were in charge, we'd redefine the readership comics were aimed at, coinciding with the shift in distribution that allowed the redefinition to stick. The result is a dead end for comic book publishing has been, how would I change this? I'd cancel every existing superhero comic and publish a limited new line for middle grade readership, simplify characters and storylines, and eliminate every event that requires more than passing familiarity with the character. 10 to 15 titles. So I think he's thinking about this in the industry too much in the framework of like the 70s and 80s, or even the 90s.
Correct.
Comic books have not been cheap, affordable, and available to children for a very long time.
Yeah, for 25 years.
Yes, adult readers our age probably remember that. But adult readers, like in their early 30s, don't remember that time. Adult readers in their 20s certainly don't remember those times. It has been so long since anyone really was introduced into comic books via the periodicals as a younger person, unless their parents were like readers or they just really went out and found it themselves. Because there is a way to do this. This market has been created. It's been created by Scholastic, essentially. It's graphic novels that are in the bookstore chains. Those are in Walmart. They're in Target. They're in all the bookstores. They need to be creating graphic novels aimed for those age brackets, but with the characters of Marvel and DC that they want them to transition to as they get older so they can go to the direct market.
Correct.
That is my belief.
Yes, you use that almost. Marvel's been trying to do like a kids line for at least 20 years now. They tried it. It started with Ultimate Marvel, then it went to I think Marvel Age, and then to the Marvel Action IDW books. They've been trying to do a kids line for as long as I can remember. That should be marketed directly into Scholastic. Not into
they should be written as graphic novels. Parents, when you look as someone with a 5-year-old, and I look at something that I know he's going to destroy that costs $4, it's 24 pages. No bueno. You need to be giving me 100 pages for $6.
Yes,
and then I don't care. You know what I mean?
And you can
some type of bang for your buck.
And if you move enough volume, your creator costs are set. They are what they are, except for if you have volume bonuses or whatever. The printing costs they start going down the more volume you print. So
and you don't need Greg Capullo on those comics. You don't need Jason Fabok or Ryan Stegman to create a comic for an 8-year-old.
Yes,
the art can be very much more basic. The stories themselves will be more basic, and you write them for the audience.
Yeah, and if you get 3 or 4 of those out quarterly, so that's who they should be marketing the graphic novels to, and it would be children in order to get them into reading comics as an art form, as a medium in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Get them attached to the characters, and then as they grow older, you move them along to the more adult stuff. But
don't make the mistake of making a version of every character for everyone. Give them one. There has to be continuity. Yes, you give Batman needs to be Batman. Yes, you give them one Batman, one Spider-Man, one everybody, and not like 38 variations on, well, this is the Asian Bruce Wayne, this is the black Bruce Wayne, this is the white Bruce Wayne, this is a handicapped Bruce Wayne. We don't need that. You give them one and you set them up so that whenever they come into the direct market, whenever they're aging up out of that Scholastic market, they're already familiar with, well, why isn't this one the Chinese one? Because Bruce has never been Chinese. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the characters need to be consistent through the lines. You can write Batman for a 5-year-old. You can write Batman for a 10-year-old. You can certainly write Batman for a 15-year-old. And then they kind of get up to the adult line. But there needs to be consistency among characters. That way the new readers move up and eventually graduate to your main line, which he's talking about. I'd offer a separate higher price graphic novel line. Well, I would still just do periodicals. There are still collectors out there and things like that.
But once you get the pipeline of the new readers that are attached to the characters, that they like the stories, and then all of a sudden the sales will bump, and it's no longer a self-licking ice cream cone. You have new readers that come in. Some of them will be collectors. Some of them will just be readers. But you'll have new blood coming into the shops or wherever you're distributing through, and they will be buying the new comics. And that's how you sustain the industry.
Yeah,
and I don't think you can go to periodicals aimed at kids anymore. I think it's got to be graphic novels.
No, you don't have the volume to do it. Unless these publishers are willing to take a loss on these books for the next 3 to 5 years,
yes,
at selling below cost for it make them a loss leader,
and also having to pay money to get into places like Walmart and Target and Costco, and
I
that
still
shelf space isn't free.
Yeah, I still am of the opinion that big box stores are not the approach for this. It's got to be convenience stores and stuff like that. People are in those far more often than they are in Walmarts.
Yeah, but you got to get the price down to $1.25.
Exactly. You have to, regardless of how you do it, you have to get it into an impulse buy territory, which is under $2, and you need to have it in normie spaces and not in that ghetto aisle of magic cards and disorganized garbage in Walmart. You need it right.
I say you don't need to recreate anything. You already dropped that segment as far as promoting comics and having them accessible to children. That's gone away. Kids are reading graphic novels. They are reading comic books. They're reading Dogman. They're reading Smile. They're reading the things that are available on Scholastic, and they're getting them through the book channel. That's where you need to hook the kids nowadays.
And I think you will, but I think there's a lot of kids that are also going to be not doing it that way. I think once if you're able to popularize it through that approach, you open the door back up to getting into more spaces.
Well, I agree with you there. I just don't think Marvel's ever going to go out of their way to lose money. I've heard some of the nickel and dime stuff they do with creators. It's actually extremely embarrassing if it actually got out. And I think DC's starting to do some of that stuff. So I don't know. I don't think anybody's ready to lose money on an industry that's already losing customers.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think that they're ever going to be willing to, they made their bed here and they're going to refuse to lie in it for the rest of their lives.
And the cool thing is somebody went out there, saw what you did, and they created their own market.
Yeah, Dogman and Raina Telgemeier.
Follow the leader as far as Raina Telgemeier and Dav Pilkey and man, who's the guy that did Bones? All those guys. There's a lot of people have already created this market.
Yes.
Swallow your pride.
So copy it, but copy it with don't try to.
You don't need to sacrifice the current readers for that.
Yes, exactly.
That's the big thing. I think that's what Larry. I think Larry's in here right now. He was he commented on the first one.
Okay.
We're on the first one. Here's Larry, regular on the channel. Where is he at? There we go. Yeah, F us. Let's move on. The existing 100,000 fans that make up the direct market suck.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be perfect. And look at it this way. Marvel, I know you really want to get rid of us, but most of us are in our 40s and 50s. We have 25 years of readership left.
Well, what's more important is you have money.
Yeah, we have money. We have we're like 43 and middle class. Most of us are either kids or, we have kids and we want to share hobbies with them. Give us a reason to. We're going to be reading for another 40 years.
You don't have to scrap what you have right now. You just need to create a pipeline of new readers to go into there.
Yes.
That's the key part. And I think that's the part that they're missing. And I think, to be completely honest, I think Gerry kind of missed that as well. I think he's thinking about the industry too much in like a 70s, 80s, 90s mentality where, the market has changed. And there's growth in the industry. It's just not in periodicals.
And I'm wondering whether or not Gerry Conway has actually gone into a comic shop and purchased a comic in the last 30 years, because he's probably still getting almost all of his stuff comps. Has
That's
he
pretty
actually bought it and realized $6, $7, $5, $4 for your normal monthly comic? Does he realize how expensive they are for the average reader? And you're going to give a $4 comic, 22-page comic to a 6-year-old? Yeah, no, you're not.
It's not a good idea. All right, Doc, I think that'll basically wrap us up. I like what Gerry Conway's doing. I like people that instigate the conversation and put out actual ideas. Like I said, I agree with him and I don't agree with him. I think he kind of identified the problem. He's got some good ideas. I don't think they're going to be the final solution. There are other avenues out there that have already been created. I don't think he's got his head quite wrapped around. Hopefully people enjoy this. If you have some words for Doc and I, please let us know in the comments section. Doc, do you have any, some final words before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, Gerry, you're half right and you're half wrong, and hopefully at one point you're going to decide that it's okay to have a conversation instead of a monologue about this.
Yeah, well, we shall see. All right, Doc, thank you very much.
Thank you.